And that railroad mentality that you said, I mean, that helped you, as I mentioned about the venture capital funding. You didn't quit, you just decided to do it anyway and work out how to do it. So tell us, first of all, just answer the question, if you can, about sort of why did these VCs say no to you and Andrew?
If I'm honest, I think they were exactly right to say no to us, because we were two guys who had clearly what we thought was a great idea, but we hadn't really thought about how we were going to implement it, how we were going to build it, anything like that. So first few conversations were, okay, what's the idea? That sounds very interesting. Now, how are you going to do it? And we probably started umming and ahhing, and it probably didn't inspire a lot of confidence. At the time as well, I mean, it's difficult to remember back. 1999, everyone was sort of, there were heady days. There was another company out there, Flutter, who had done a spectacularly good job at raising amount of money. And a lot of people we went to said, oh, we've already seen this model. It's what Flutter are doing, so you're second to the table, so no, thank you. But I have to say, it was the best thing, I think, that ever happened, because it was the first, you learn one of those lessons early on, and it's a pretty big lesson when nobody's going to give you any money to get going, to then say, right, okay, how am I going to get around that problem? And we did it in a slightly sort of back to front way.
Yeah. So a lot of entrepreneurs I'd have thought, if they got knocked back down by the VCs, and sometimes people can look at VCs on a pedestal thinking they're, the be-all and the end-all. If they're saying no, the business won't work. Did that knock your confidence at all? Or?
Of course it does. I mean, and you said I didn't go and cry in the corner. I'm not sure that's necessarily true, but yes, of course you go in and say, why can't they see it the same way that we see it? And what are we missing? Because these are smart people. As I say, I think they look for the idea and the sort of the very clear path to developing it. But I think it made us a bit bloody-minded, and we said, well, fine, we'll go and show you. And they turn down a lot of people, and they should do, because an awful lot of people go and see them. And I've bumped into lots of people who said, oh, I had this, we had the betting exchange idea too, but we couldn't get any money for it, so we didn't go any further. Right. And I go, well, thank goodness we didn't do that.
Just out of interest, Ed, have you met any of the people that turned you down and said, hi, must feel good?
Yeah, and look, you don't... We all make lots of decisions that go wrong and lots of decisions that go right, and I don't believe at all ever in sort of sitting there and saying, ha-ha. I absolutely believe in saying, okay, what did we learn from, why did I say no, or why did I say yes, what did you learn from it? And I'm often quoted, I think, as saying that you've got to make lots of mistakes to get things right, because you learn a lot more from those mistakes. But they've always been very helpful. And I mean, actually, we then did have a whole load of venture capitalists who came in to once we bought Flutter. So I had the opportunity to work with them, and a lot of them are very helpful. Yeah.
So could you just tell us how you actually managed to raise the, I think, 2 million early on?
Yeah, we raised £1 million from friends and family, and having worked in the city, I realised that there are two really key dates in any banker's life, and the first of those is when they get told what their bonus is, and the second one is when they get paid it. And they are about a month apart in many cases. So I made sure I was going to see people between those 2 dates. So I knew that they knew what they were going to get, but they hadn't been given it yet, so they couldn't spend it. And then I also went to, I could probably have raised, we raised £1 million. I could probably have raised a lot of that from people at JP Morgan, but I actually went and I got one person on a trading floor in 10 different investment banks. Well, it was 10 then, but a lot of them have merged and a couple aren't around anymore, so it's not 10 anymore. But with a simple reason, I thought, well, if I get one evangelist on each trading floor, then they'll be able to sort of spread the word to, a couple of hundred people on their trading floor, and it was sort of, that kind of a network effectively to get it going. And we were lucky. EIS, which had just started then, was an absolute godsend for us, and so we raised £1 million from friends and family. The day the money arrived was, without doubt, the most stressful day of my life. And to this day remains that, because I suddenly sat there and thought, okay, these are all people I know, and I've now got their money, and I better sort of make it work. And it's silly little things, like you go and have a drink with someone 3 weeks afterwards, and you're not quite sure whether they're happy to see you, or whether they're going, well, why the bloody hell aren't you in the office, working hard for my money? But it was great. I mean, they were very good to back us. It got us going, and without doubt, the proudest and most rewarding day of my life was when we were able to hand money back to them and say thank you for your belief in us.
Yeah. Presumably when you see them for drinks now, they're buying the champagne, I'm guessing.
Well, look, they've done all right out of it, and as I say, I'm delighted about that. But they took a big risk with it.
Big risk, yeah.